Hey everyone, have you ever heard of a lawyer winning a case simply because the other side forgot to reply? Sounds like a lucky break, right? Well, in Singapore, it's not that simple. There's a professional rule, yes, an actual rule, that stops lawyers from sneakily entering default judgment behind the other lawyer's back. It's called Rule 28 of the Legal Profession Professional Conduct Rules of 2015. Today, we are going to dive into what this rule says, why it exists, and walk through 3 examples that show how it plays out in practice. So if you are a budding lawyer, a law student, or just someone who's curious about how lawyers should treat each other ethically, stick around. Let me tell you a story. Imagine 2 lawyers, let's call them David and Elaine. David represents the plaintiff, the person who is suing. He files a claim. Elaine, who represents the defendant, the person getting sued, is swamped with work. Her assistant forgot to key in the deadline for filing a defense in Elaine's calendar. Time flies. The deadline comes and goes. No defense is filed. Now, technically, David can apply for default judgment. That means he wins by default, just because Elaine didn't respond in time. But here's the catch. Under Rule 28 of the Legal Profession Professional Conduct Rules 2015, David must give Elaine at least 2 days' notice before applying for that default judgment. He can't just swoop in and win the case quietly. He has to pick up the phone or send an email and say, "Hey Elaine, just so that you know, your defense is overdue. I intend to apply for default judgment in 2 days." This gives Elaine one last chance to act. Now, what exactly does Rule 28 say? It says a legal practitioner must not apply for default judgment without giving at least 2 days' notice to the opposing legal practitioner, unless the court orders otherwise. Why was this rule created? It all boils down to professional courtesy and fair play. Court procedures aren't meant to be traps. They exist to help parties resolve their disputes fairly, on the merits. And let's be honest, lawyers are human. Mistakes happen. Files get buried. Assistants fall sick. Someone might just miss a deadline. So instead of ambushing your opponent, Rule 28 gives them a fair warning, a gentle nudge before you pull the trigger. First example, the forgotten defense. Meet Thomas, a junior lawyer working late nights. He files a claim for his client, and the opposing lawyer, Rachel, has 21 days to file a defense. But Rachel's paralegal is on leave. No one tracks the deadline. The 21st day passes. Thomas remembers Rule 28. He emails Rachel. "Hi Rachel, just a courtesy heads up. Your client's defense is overdue. I intend to file for default judgment in 2 days. Rachel is shocked. She checks her calendar, scrambles, and manages to draft and file the defense within those 2 days. Crisis averted. No embarrassment, no costs thrown away. The case proceeds on its merits. That's the spirit of Rule 28 in action. Next example, the unreachable lawyer. Priya, a litigator, is dealing with a lawyer named Leon. She files a claim. The defense deadline passes. No word from Leon. She sends a Rule 28 notice by email and phone. Still no reply. After 2 days, she applies for default judgment. A few days later, Leon tries to set it aside, claiming he was hospitalized and never saw the email. But the court sees that Priya did her part. She gave notice, she played fair. The court might still allow the defense to be filed, but Priya won't be penalized because she followed Rule 28. Example 3, the gotcha lawyer. Calvin is a lawyer who thinks he's smart. His opponent, Mei Ling, forgets to file a defense. Instead of giving notice, Calvin rushes to court and gets a default judgment without telling her. Mei Ling later finds out, applies to set it aside, and tells the court that Calvin breached Rule 28. The court is not amused. Not only is the default judgment set aside, Calvin risks a professional misconduct complaint. He ends up wasting everyone's time and embarrassing himself. That's why the 2-day notice rule matters. Some people might say, but isn't law adversarial? Isn't it every lawyer for themselves? Well, yes and no. The law is adversarial, but the legal profession is still a profession. And that means ethics, courtesy, and integrity. Rule 28 reminds us that legal practice is not just a game of hide and seek. It's about justice. It's about giving people the chance to be heard, even when deadlines are missed. Think about it. If the only reason you win is because the other lawyer forgot a deadline, what does that say about your case? More importantly, what does that say about you? As lawyers, we are called officers of the court. Our duty is not just to our clients, but to the justice system itself. And justice is never served by ambush. So the next time you are tempted to sneak in a quiet default judgment, remember Rule 28. Give that 2-day notice, do the right thing. It might just save you from a professional headache and earn you the respect of your peers and the court. Thanks for joining me in this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.